Hi guys, it's Emily Swank here with Autism Assistant, and we're here for another installment of our featured provider interviews. I really love doing these because I love to get to sit down with these practice owners and just learn a little bit more about their passion behind what they do and kind of what drives them. And I think it's great for parents who are thinking of working with them to get to learn a little bit more about them. So I'm excited to introduce you today, Jamie McGillivary from Healing Haven. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to jump right in and say, just tell us a little bit about yourself, the services you offer, the typical age ranges you work with, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So I am a limited licensed psychologist. I'm also a board certified behavior analyst. I've been working with kids with autism for about 25 years, and I am one of the owners of a wonderful clinic in Madison Heights, Michigan, that provides ABA therapy and a variety of other services to kids with autism between the ages of 2 and 16. And there are a lot of just really unique and wonderful things about our clinic. One of which is that we have a variety of different modalities under one roof. So while ABA is the majority of what we provide, or applied behavior analysis, we also have in-house speech therapy, occupational therapy, and counseling to give a really kind of well-rounded approach for the families and to kind of meet their needs. And we've recently added a diagnostic team for families that are coming and seeking out an autism diagnosis. I would say there are two things that kind of typically set us apart from other standard ABA clinics, at least in our area. The first is that we put a very heavy emphasis on parent training. The parents are really at the center of what we do because it's wonderful if kids can make gains with us, but where it really matters is when they go home. You know, we want to see them take the skills that we're giving them within our four walls and use it in the real world. So parent training is a requirement of anybody that's participating in our program. And we do have a variety of different ways to go about parent training to kind of customize it to everybody's different circumstances and needs. And then also the second piece that makes us really unique and is very important is stress management. And so through applied behavior analysis, we use acceptance and commitment therapy and mindfulness, and we teach kind of all of the players that are involved how to live in a more mindful fashion and how to mitigate their stress. And so, starting with the kids, all of our kids have emotional regulation programs embedded into their ABA programs. Even as little as 2 years old, you can teach a 2-year-old to do deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, and we're really kind of giving them that skill set to be successful later in life to learn how to manage stress. We work on stress management with the families as well, because being a parent, as you know, can be very stressful. And then you add a special need, child on top of that, and the stress sometimes can go through the roof. And so we want to teach the parents how to reclaim joy, how to mitigate some of that stress, and really how to navigate their journey. And we also provide stress management strategies for our staff because we realize that we're only as good as the people that we employ, and their mental health is really important to us. So we want to make sure that they're in a good place so that they can provide the best treatment possible. So overall, we put a very big emphasis on treating the family as a whole because we realize that autism doesn't occur in a vacuum. Autism is happening to the whole family. It's not just the child. And so we want to make sure that everybody's needs are met so that we can absolutely maximize the outcome for the kids.
I love that. And I mean, especially now with everything going on, and the stress levels have never been higher for everybody. So
Right.
that's awesome that you guys address that for families and for the kiddos. That's great to hear. So why are the services that you guys offer so helpful for autistic children?
Sure. Well, there is, lots of reasons why what we do is so instrumental in changing the lives of kids. Starting with the youngest kids, as I said, we have kids between the ages of 2 and 16. So starting with the youngest kids, early intervention is a huge, huge piece of what we do. And there's lots of research to support the importance of that when you intervene at a very early age, you can really dramatically change a child's outcome. One of the ways that we explain it to parents is if you're starting with me when your child is 2, and perhaps he's functioning at a 1-year-old level, I only have 1 year of time to make up for. Versus if you bring him to me when he's 6 and perhaps he's functioning at a 3-year-old level, we have 3 years of time to make up for. So in the very beginning, with the little ones that come to us, we put a really heavy emphasis on, like I said, parent training, but also working on all of the core deficits of autism. So that is going to be communication, socialization, and play skills. And we look at all of those deficits as being very tightly intertwined. So if you, for example, don't know how to communicate, how do you learn how to socialize? If you can't socialize very well, how do you learn how to play? And so when we program for our kids, it's very important to take a look at that and make sure that we're providing a really well-rounded program for them to set them up for success later in life. Now, I think also when we push kind of this early intervention narrative, because it is very important, sometimes the parents of the kids that are a little bit older feel left out. And sometimes I feel like that even dissuades people from starting therapy, perhaps if they're just learning about it when their kids are 10, 11, or 12. And the fact of the matter is that ABA is, very effective intervention for kids with autism, and it's effective regardless of your age. And I think that when the kids come to us a little bit older, because we do have an emphasis on that within our program as well, the focus of what we're doing might be a little bit different. While communication and socialization is going to be a key piece of it when kids are a little bit older, for those kids, we focus on life skills, we focus on independence. And, one of my pet peeves that I think for families that have kids with autism that turn into adults with autism is that as people with autism turn to, become older, they're kind of pigeonholed into job opportunities that they have. And I think that people don't think outside of the box. And so when we talk about early intervention for the older kids, it sounds a little funny. I often think of like early intervention for those pre-vocational skills and getting you ready for adulthood. So those soft skills, learning how to socially engage, and also taking a look at, for our older kids, what are the things that they are really good at? And how can we use those, or perhaps even spin that into a job for those kids later down the road, so that they're not pigeonholed into just kind of your standard jobs that we often see people with autism are assigned to. So, I think that those are the two most important elements of what we have. Early intervention overall, but just it looks a little bit different for the different ages.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And that's something that you do see a lot. It seems like a lot of times children either get diagnosed really young or a little bit later. And I think a lot of times those parents, like you said, are kind of like, what do I do? Everything seems focused on the really young kids. And those children that are more in the middle still definitely need services.
Right. There's still lots of hope there and lots of room for growth.
That's great to hear. So what should parents who are new to this, who have just got a diagnosis, they're just looking to get therapy started, and they kind of don't even know where to start, kind of walk them through what that process looks like with you guys?
Well, I always tell parents that it's really important to use your parental instincts, interview a lot of places, observe a lot of places, figure out what your values are and how your values match the organization that you're pairing yourselves with. But I think overall, if there was a message to give to parents as they're coming out of this, new diagnosis and often entering in kind of a grief stage that goes along with that, is understanding that things are going to be okay. And the faster that you come to a point of acceptance, the faster things are going to move along and be easier, honestly. I think parents need to know that it is a hard journey, and that entering into, particularly if they're entering into like an ABA relationship where they're learning how to do this and to carry it over, that it's going to be the hardest thing. There's no sugarcoating it, right? It's probably going to be the hardest thing that they've ever done, but also the most rewarding thing that they've ever done. And the kids that have the most success, I have found, just narratively speaking, are the kids that have parents that know what their kids are capable of, that know how to set their bar to, like, this is what we're going to rise to. And they push them to that bar. And when they hit that level, then they move to the next step. I think it's really important as a parent to try really hard, because it's going to be your natural instinct to worry so much about what's coming way down the road. And if you can learn to focus in the moment, find the joy in the moment, find the thing to reinforce in the moment, the journey is so much easier. And oftentimes, I think as moms, as parents, but particularly as moms, we have a tendency to put our kids before ourselves, right? We're selfless in that regard. And I think one lesson that's really hard for parents to learn is that you have to take care of yourself in an effort to take care of your kids. And so many times we have seen extreme burnout and extreme fatigue, and learning right out the gate kind of what your options are and your availability of, like, who can help you, who is your village, who is your team. and learning that it is okay to take time for yourself, because when your bucket is filled, you're going to be a better parent to your child, rather than, running on empty all the time. And that is something that we consistently kind of preach to our parents, and try to hold their hand and teach them to do that, because it seems counterintuitive a lot of times to put on your own, mask before you secure your child, as they say on the airplane, right? So it's important. Stress management is important.
That is great, great, great advice. And yes, from a parent who's been through this for years, you sometimes get to that burnout point and you have to take a step back and say, okay, what do I need to do to kind of chill out so I can be the best I can be for my kids? That's great, great information. So what is your inspiration behind doing what you do? What got you into all this?
Oh, wow. The kids are always the inspiration. So many years ago, as I was an undergraduate at Eastern Michigan University, I had a professor who said, I think you need to meet this family. I think this kind of profession is well suited to your personality. And he was right. He changed my life. And, I went to meet the family the next week. And I just remember it was one of those life-changing experiences, stepping into the family's house, and out comes this little girl with piggy tails and a bouncy dress. And I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And she was 3 years old at the time, and that was nearly 25 years ago. And that little girl is a grown adult. And I would say she was responsible for changing my life more than anything, really, honestly. She's still an active part in my life. And she actually kind of came full circle as we hired her to work at the Healing Haven as our first adult with autism. And so she's a huge blessing in our lives, and she is an inspiration to our families and to our staff.
I love that so much. That is such a good story. I love that you hired her and she works with you. That's so cool to hear.
Yeah.
So what is the most challenging thing about what you do? And then what's the most rewarding?
There are so many challenges to kind of like walking this journey with families. We've a lot of times feel the pain with them as we hold their hand as they walk through the journey. And I would say one of the biggest struggles that our kids face, if they are, stalling out on progress, a lot of times we see that they're medically compromised or they have something else going on. If we have tried every behavioral trick in the book and we're really, boiling it down to, we need to interface with other professionals. So I think like the biggest struggle we have is just watching the kids struggle, and, knowing that sometimes ABA might have a limit if there's something medically going on, So just helping the families kind of find the resources, and finding resources is sometimes scarce, and it's sometimes a challenge for families. And I would say that's the worst part, is just watching the kids struggle. But I guess the reverse of that, the most rewarding, is when we're able to tackle those challenges, right? When we find the right professional, when we're able to rise above and kind of help pull those kids, out of a dark spot. Obviously, the gains that the kids make are worth their weight in gold to us. And it's why we do what we do, is to watch them grow. And I guess not only the kids, but like the families as a whole, even just the siblings, as we bring them into therapy, watching them develop, watching relationships bloom within the families, and just watching parents be able to settle and come to that place of acceptance of like, look at my child is wonderful. Like, he has all of these skills and I finally know how to reach him and I finally know how to teach him. That is probably one of the best feelings in the world.
Oh, that's so awesome. And lastly would just be, what is something that you would like parents who are considering working with you, what's something you'd like them to know about you guys and your practice?
That's a good question. I guess just that we are very passionate. This is less of a job and more of a mission for everybody that we work with. And we care deeply about these kids, and that honestly, the kids and the families change our lives just as much as we change theirs. And for that, we can't be grateful enough, and that we take this responsibility of changing their lives and holding their hands and walking through this journey with them. We take it very, very seriously. And we just try our best every single day to make the world a better place. And we're grateful that, we get to have wonderful kids in our lives as we do that.
Oh, I love that. That's so awesome. And I appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions today. Guys, if you have questions for Jamie about Healing Haven, you just want a little more information, anything like that, you can go to their profile on our website. I will have a link in the video description so you can click right over and contact them directly. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak.
Thank you.
I love learning a little bit more about you in the Healing Haven.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.